In the vote for the new director position, Sarah Vance cast the deciding vote for Daniel. Daniel was her ex-boyfriend. When Daniel joined the company a month ago, rumors started flying that they were getting back together. I asked Sarah why she voted for him. She raised an eyebrow, replying casually, "Because he's more qualified than you are." It felt like a punch to the gut. "Sarah, I'm your boyfriend," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "He's your ex." She said, "I don't play favorites. We might be in a relationship, but this is a workplace. It's all about merit." Without a second thought, I broke up with her and handed in my resignation. On the plane out of New York, I saw a string of missed calls from Sarah. The gossip about Sarah was the main topic in the company break room. I stood to the side, pretending to be busy, but I was listening to my colleagues describe the rumors in vivid detail. I heard she's still not over him. Inside scoop, the boss and her old flame are definitely getting back together. Hearing this, I thought to myself that this is exactly how rumors get started. Sarah and I had been dating for 2 years, but we'd never made it public. We were in the same bed just last night. How could she possibly be getting back with her ex? Grabbing a latte, I walked back to my desk. Once I sat down, Mark was still going on and on about Sarah and her ex-boyfriend. "I think his name is Daniel. They say he's starting at our company this month. Isn't that insane?" When I heard the name, I froze for a second. A year ago, Sarah got drunk, and a few words escaped her lips. In a hoarse voice, she'd called out a name I didn't recognize. Mark nudged me. "What do you think? Will Sarah and Daniel get back together?" My head was spinning. I suddenly realized the name Sarah had mumbled when she was drunk a year ago was Daniel. The muffled sound became crystal clear. I shook my head. "Not sure." I forced my attention back to my work. When it was time to clock out, Sarah was leaving too. Our eyes met for a moment. Her gaze was as cold and distant as ever. At the office, we always acted like complete strangers. None of our colleagues ever suspected a thing. We squeezed into the same elevator. In that confined space, the same person I'd spent a passionate night with could turn into a total stranger the very next day. When we first got together, I'd see her blush and her heart race in crowded places. But she always managed to maintain a cool and composed facade. The elevator reached the first floor. Sarah strode out without a second glance. Whenever people were around, we never exchanged a single word. She didn't hesitate, just walked straight ahead. In that moment, I suddenly felt a huge distance between us. Mark shook my arm. "I'm dying to know, what kind of guy does it take to land a woman like Sarah?" I just smiled without saying anything. "Come on, or we'll miss the subway." He snapped out of it and pulled me into a run. The day I met Daniel, he wasn't what I'd imagined. He wasn't some aggressive go-getter type. He was polished and well-spoken, greeting everyone with a smile. "I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I hope you'll all show me the ropes." After speaking, Daniel gave a slight bow. Our eyes met. His gaze was clear, almost completely disarming. The office quieted down, and everyone got back to work. Then Sarah's assistant called Daniel away. After he left, the group chat immediately blew up. "OMG, is Sarah really protecting him like that? The guy just got here and he's already been called into her office. Is this her way of putting our department in its place?" After reading the messages, I was about to put my phone away when I got another notification. I went to her office door. Sarah was sitting in her chair, legs crossed elegantly, focused on the documents in front of her. "There's a promotion opportunity on the 1st of next month. The evaluation will be based on a new project proposal." I nodded. Then she said, "The candidates are you and Daniel." When she said his name, I tried to catch any flicker of emotion on her face, but it was a complete blank. On the way back to my desk, I received the project brief from Ms. Evans, the assistant. Daniel reached out and added me on socials. He even struck up a conversation. "Hey, Sarah told me about the promotion. So you're my competition. I've seen some of your past proposals. Really impressive stuff." A small smile touched my lips. "Oh yeah? Thanks." He extended a hand, the corners of his eyes crinkling in a way that seemed warm and harmless. "It's great to have you as a colleague." "You too." Maybe he knew about me and Sarah. For this promotion, I pulled a few all-nighters. I was working until dawn almost every night. Sarah appeared behind me without a sound. Her cool voice suddenly broke the silence. "Are you ever going to sleep?" I let out a soft yawn. "In a minute." A question popped into my head, and I turned to ask her, "Sarah?" She looked at me. I said, "Are you going to pull some strings for me?" Her expression suddenly turned serious, and she removed her hand from my shoulder. She looked up at me, her eyes dark. She began, "Leo, the company's review process has always been impartial." I knew what she meant. No. A small part of me was relieved. At least it would be a fair fight between me and Daniel. I went back to working on the proposal while she stared intently at her computer, quickly handling work messages. During a break from the project, I scrolled through my social feed to relax. Judging by Daniel's posts, he seemed like a really sunny, optimistic guy. He often shared videos of cats and dogs, and just random daily complaints. Maybe I was only paying attention to him because he and Sarah used to be a thing. It seemed Daniel was paying attention to me, too. He liked one of my posts from a year ago. Then he quickly unliked it. I looked up and met Sarah's eyes. Her gaze was as deep and calm as ever. For a second, I was lost in thought. The next morning at work, Daniel and I ran into each other at the elevator. We exchanged smiles but didn't say anything. A strange tension hung in the air. He just radiated this boundless energy. Mark whispered in my ear, "I get it now. Sarah's into that energetic sunshine boy type. Not like me. We're the same age, but ever since I started this soul-crushing job, I feel like I've aged 10 years. Skipped a whole decade of my life." I often saw Sarah and Daniel walking together at the office. The first time I ran into them head-on was in the elevator. Just the two of them were standing in the small, enclosed space. Sarah's tall figure was leaning against the elevator wall, while Daniel held a stack of files. Seeing them, I paused, hesitating to get in. A sour feeling rose in my throat. Daniel smiled and waved me over. "Leo, come on in." Sarah looked at me without a word. Her expression was placid, like she was looking at a stranger. I could feel a subtle hostility from Daniel. It felt like he was here with a purpose. Right then, I desperately wanted to ask her, "Am I even your boyfriend?" Finally, Sarah's deep voice cut through the silence. "Not getting in?" Inside the elevator, Daniel chatted freely with Sarah. I just stood off to the side, listening. It felt like he was marking his territory right in front of me. Back at my desk, Mark sidled up to me. "I just saw Sarah and Daniel in the elevator lobby. You think they were secretly making out or something? Doing some R-rated stuff?" I slowly turned my head and gave him a faint smile. "You need to throw away those romance novels. If she knew you were gossiping about her like that, she'd probably fire you first." Mark muttered under his breath. "She's not that petty, is she? Can't a guy just imagine things?" When Daniel came back, he was followed by a few delivery guys. "Treats for the department from Sarah. You've all been working so hard." The group chat exploded. Everyone's eyes were glued to Daniel, full of gossip. "Looks like we're about to have a first gentleman of the company, LOL. The future Mr. Vance is bringing us snacks. Is this the perk of having the boss's old flame in your department? These desserts aren't cheap. They must be like $50 a pop." I just saw Sarah and Daniel on the same elevator, and it was just the two of them. Daniel handed me a dessert, personally. "Thanks," I said quietly. That evening, it started to rain. I was about to text Sarah, "Hey, it's raining. I want to go home with you." Then I looked up and saw two figures standing in the downpour. Sarah, elegant and tall, was holding an umbrella. She was tilting it toward Daniel. A wave of bitterness washed over me. I looked down and deleted the message. Soon, a picture of Sarah and Daniel walking side by side in the rain was posted in the group chat. So atmospheric? The chat immediately blew up again. It felt like a tiny, sharp needle had pricked my heart. The black car sped away. The taxi I'd called arrived. I got home before Sarah did. The ends of her hair were a little damp, and her left shoulder was soaked. I glanced at her, then looked away. She opened her mouth to ask, "What did you send me just now?" Taking a small sip of water, I shook my head. It was nothing. Sent it by mistake. She came out of the shower wearing only a bathrobe. The belt was tied loosely at her waist, accentuating her slim figure. A faint warmth radiated from her as she got closer. Her cool fingers touched my arm. I took a step back. "I just remembered I haven't finished my proposal. I'm going to the study." The desire in her eyes slowly faded, but the corners of her eyes still curved up. Our proposals were to be emailed privately to the manager. The manager would then send them to the various department heads for review. A final vote would decide the winner. We could choose to be anonymous or public. I knew this company. I'd worked here for 3 years. I was confident I'd get the promotion, until the result landed in my inbox. "Mr. Davis, we regret to inform you that you were not selected for the promotion. Please do not be discouraged. Thank you for your 3 years of support for Vance Corp." Reading those words, my mind went completely blank. In my 3 years at Vance, I'd gone from a fumbling rookie to someone who could handle any task with ease. My 3 years meant less than his 1 month. The moment I saw that message, my nose started to burn. I couldn't stop my eyes from welling up. I quickly glanced around, then wiped the tears away. There were times during my relationship with Sarah when I'd hit a wall at work and just wanted to hold her, to let it all out in her arms. I knew it wouldn't solve anything, but I just wanted to vent, to feel sorry for myself. I had seen Daniel's presentation. He'd sent it to me himself. He asked me for feedback. I pointed out that it didn't fit the theme or Vance's philosophy. Daniel was definitely skilled, but he had only been here for a month. In terms of experience, he shouldn't have been ranked above me. I resisted the urge to storm into Sarah's office. I waited until I got home. The news had already spread through the group chat. I was so sure Leo had this promotion in the bag. Can't believe he lost to Daniel. Rumor has it the deciding vote came from Sarah herself. When I saw that message, my eyes ached with the urge to cry. Mark sent me a message to comfort me. Even if he's going to be the boss's husband, he can't just steal someone's job like that. If he's already the future Mr. Vance, why didn't they just parachute him into the director role? Why make you his competition? That's just messed up. I wiped my tears away and replied with a smile, "I'm fine." Then Sarah walked through the door. The tears started streaming down my face again. She had seen every single late night I'd pulled for that proposal. When she'd gotten up in the middle of the night, I was still in the study. My voice trembled, thick with emotion. Sarah, why didn't you vote for me? She looked at me, her eyes calm. Because his proposal was better than yours. The ache in my chest was unbearable. But Sarah, he's your ex-boyfriend. I'm your boyfriend. Her eyes were dark, unreadable. She enunciated each word, her tone flat. Leo, because he's more qualified than you are. And besides, I don't play favorites. We may be in a relationship, but this is a workplace. It's all about merit. I stared at her. Our eyes met, and I realized that this woman I had shared a bed with for 2 years had always been a stranger. Sarah, you've never liked me, not even a little bit. The rumors about her and Daniel were circulating around the office with a life of their own. I took a deep breath, trying my best to control my emotions. Let's break up. Sarah's usually unflappable expression suddenly showed a flicker of fear. She grabbed my arm. Leo, calm down. I stormed out of the apartment. Sarah called me many times. I declined every call. The next day, I ran into Sarah and Daniel again while waiting for the elevator. The rumors about them were already running wild at the office. I stood outside the elevator, looking at them. Daniel smiled and greeted me. Leo. The elevator next to theirs opened, and I turned and walked into it. Sarah rushed out. By the time she did, the doors were closing, leaving only a thin gap. I smiled at her. Sarah's brow furrowed. By the time I got to my desk, Sarah had followed me in. Her body was tense. She stood in front of my desk for a long time without moving. I stood up. Ms. Vance, can I help you? Her eyes were fixed on me. My office. I answered quietly. Okay. She took a few steps, then stopped and looked back. Are you coming? I didn't want to be alone with her, and I didn't want to be in the same elevator with her. I forced a smile. After you, Ms. Vance? She seemed taken aback for a moment before turning and leaving. A little while later, she told me very seriously, Leo, Daniel's proposal was better than yours in every way, from design to creativity. You should accept defeat gracefully. I nodded. I understand, Ms. Vance. But what hurt was her blurry relationship with her ex. That lack of boundaries made me feel insecure. Everyone was saying she was trying to get back together with Daniel. A bitter feeling rose in my chest. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. Her breath hitched. She looked like she wanted to say something, but closed her mouth. Finally, a few words escaped. Leo. He is talented. I clenched my fists so hard my knuckles turned white. Walking past Ms. Evans's office, I heard them discussing Daniel's proposal. I stopped in my tracks. Daniel's proposal really was good. The more I listened, the more familiar it sounded. Daniel's proposal was identical to my first draft. Even the general PowerPoint template was the same. A different image flashed through my mind. Daniel stole my proposal. I turned around and went back to Sarah's office. Ms. Vance, I request a review of the security footage and a re-evaluation. I pulled out my initial draft. Daniel stole my design proposal. A faint, disbelieving smile played on Sarah's lips. Her long, narrow eyes looked at me, tinged with a slight disappointment. She shook her head gently. Her tone was indifferent. Leo, you lost. That's it. Don't be emotional. Don't resort to making baseless accusations against him. I laughed, a little angry. So you're saying you think I'm framing him? Sarah didn't say anything, but her expression gave me the answer. I felt a chill run through me as I walked back to my desk. The office air conditioning made me feel colder and colder. My mind went blank as I listened to my colleagues gossiping. I heard Sarah and Daniel started a business together back in the day. They really went through thick and thin. That must be why she trusts him so much. Everything Sarah did today told me one thing. She trusted Daniel. I started looking for apartments online. During my break, I scheduled a few viewings with an agent. I found a place quickly. When I got back to the office that afternoon, Mark told me Sarah had been looking for me. I ignored it. Until it was almost time to leave, Sarah was standing silently in front of my desk. I had been staring blankly at a job offer on my computer. The woman's tall figure blocked some of the light. I slowly looked up. I watched her with suspicion. "Ms. Vance, what is it?" She read my lips. She was mouthing the words, "Taking you home." I found it slightly amusing. In the 2 years we'd been dating, this was the first time she was taking me home from work. And only because we were fighting. But we had already broken up. I needed to make that clear. Since we were broken up, I wanted even less for any colleagues to know about our relationship. We got together in secret. We could break up in secret. I looked around furtively before slipping into her car. She frowned. "Did you just rob a bank?" I quickly shut the car door. "No, I was afraid someone might see us together and get the wrong idea." Her gaze sharpened. Her voice was crisp and cold. "Leo, I'm your girlfriend." "Girlfriend?" I smiled and replied, "We broke up yesterday, remember? If you forgot, I can remind you again." After a moment of silence, she said, "Don't be like this." A faint smile played on her lips, as if she didn't believe I was serious, looked into her long, narrow eyes, and said earnestly, "Sarah, I'm not playing." I went back to the apartment with her. Just as I started packing my things, Sarah's phone rang. Her eyes fell on me. I was kneeling on the floor and noticed her stare. I looked up. Her expression was a mix of worry and hesitation. After she hung up, she said, "I have to go out for a bit." With her gone, I breathed a sigh of relief. I slowly packed my clothes and personal documents. Looking around, I noticed the apartment's originally cool gray decor was now dotted with cheerful new items. And the plants I kept on the balcony. Lots of small, scattered things. But I only took my clothes and documents. The rest wasn't important. I could buy new things. Mark messaged me. "Party, now. Here's the address." After I finished packing, I arranged for movers to take my luggage to my new rental. I took a cab to the address Mark sent. It was a newly opened bar. It wasn't seedy, but it was lively. There was even a pool party going on outside. Colleagues from a few other departments were there. Our department got along pretty well. There wasn't much backstabbing. The atmosphere was buzzing. Mark suddenly leaned in close and exclaimed, "Holy crap, isn't that Sarah? Here comes our hero to save the day." His voice was a bit loud, and our colleagues all looked up, searching for Sarah. Someone asked, "Where?" Mark pointed. "At the bar." I followed his gaze. Sarah had her back to us, looking up at Daniel and gently patting his back. She whispered, "It's okay." A colleague said excitedly, "Quick, take a picture! I told you Sarah and Daniel were getting back together. Look, she's fighting for him." Mark sighed. "I've been at this company for 3 years, and this is the first time I've ever seen this side of her, getting into a fight for her boyfriend." My heart trembled. Just as Sarah looked up, her eyes met mine. Her pupils were dark. The moment our gazes locked, her expression hardened. Panic flickered in her usually indifferent eyes. I gave her a small, tight-lipped smile. We weren't far from each other, but a crowd of people stood between us. She tried to walk toward me. She pushed her way through the crowd. Her eyes were locked on me. The crowd was dense, and it took her a while to move. Mark and I turned and left. She looked panicked. Back at my rental, I opened my laptop and replied to the job offer in my email. I accept. I received a new email almost immediately. Mr. Davis, welcome to the team. Before I went to sleep, the group chat blew up again. Check out Daniel's latest post. They really are back together. The old flame is rekindled. So Sarah's type is the gentle, harmless, warm-hearted guy. Daniel's social feed had a post about Sarah in college. An 18-year-old Sarah running all over the city on a snowy night to buy him his favorite cake for New Year's. A 19-year-old Sarah when he was bent over in pain from acute gastroenteritis, shedding all her rich girl airs to personally cook him porridge, feed him medicine, and stay up all night to care for him. A 20-year-old Sarah skipping class for Daniel. A 21-year-old Sarah willing to give up her position as heir to start a business for Daniel. But Sarah's family never accepted Daniel, and Daniel couldn't resist the temptation of their money, taking it and leaving Sarah behind. In my 2 years with Sarah, I never even got the title of public boyfriend. She had introduced Daniel to everyone. They all knew she had loved him. I closed out of Daniel's social media. A mechanical ringing started over and over. A call from Sarah. I declined, but she called right back. I resisted the urge to block her, since she was still technically my boss. I answered the phone. Her voice was sharp, tinged with a slight urgency. You're not home. Your closet is empty. I don't recall any work trips for you lately. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm. I moved my clothes out. I moved out. Sarah's voice trembled slightly as she asked, What about your other things? I said, I don't need them. You can just throw them all out. Hearing that, Sarah's heart started to race with a strange sense of unease. His words, I moved out, sent a tremor through her heart. When she'd gotten home and seen that all of Leo's things were still in their usual places, she had felt a momentary sense of relief. It wasn't until she couldn't find him and couldn't reach his phone that the panic set in. When she opened the closet and the nightstand and saw that his clothes and personal documents were gone, Sarah panicked. I submitted my resignation letter. My last day would be in 1 month. My letter was in a stack of documents that Daniel submitted. Sarah signed them all with her head down, without any hesitation or pause. During meetings, Leo would always watch her intently. His gaze was fiery. Sarah could tell it was a look of affection and admiration. But in this meeting, Leo just kept his head down, looking at his notebook. He occasionally chatted with the colleague next to him. His eyes never once landed on her. When Leo did look up absent-mindedly, and their eyes met, there was no love in his gaze. It was like he was looking at a stranger. This was the first time Sarah had ever lost focus during a meeting. Leo quickly looked away. There was no awkwardness, no intention of meeting her gaze. It was just an accidental glance. Sarah stared at him for a long time. The employees below could sense her distraction and followed her gaze. They saw she was staring at Leo. There was a strange mix of loss, fear, and nervousness in Sarah's eyes. Until Ms. Evans prompted her. Ms. Vance? Sarah snapped back to reality. After the meeting, Mark slung an arm around my shoulder and whispered, Why was Sarah staring at you like that? I smiled. You must have seen it wrong. Wasn't Daniel sitting right near us? Mark dismissed the thought and started pulling me back to the office. A voice called out from behind us. Leo? I froze. I slowly turned around. Sarah was standing there, her lips parted slightly. Come to my office. Mark's eyes went wide. I told him to go on ahead. In Sarah's office, she stared at me without saying a word. Her gaze made my skin crawl. Ms. Vance, what is it? She said. Are you still angry? You didn't look at me at all during the meeting. She sounded almost hurt. I couldn't help but laugh. What would I be angry about? We already broke up. And why would I be looking at you during a meeting? Are you performing a concert? She paused, then spoke with difficulty. That's not what I meant. If there's nothing else, I'm going back to work, I said, turning to leave. Back at my desk, I got a text from Sarah. I'll take you home later. I ignored it. I didn't think she would ever walk out of the company with me in broad daylight. Until it was time to leave, she actually showed up in our department. Her tall, straight figure was standing in front of my desk again. I was momentarily stunned when our eyes met. Those long, narrow, cool eyes. Her voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't quiet either, rising and falling with her soft breaths. Let's go home. A bad feeling washed over me. Several pairs of eyes landed on me, gossiping, curious, shocked. I frowned deeply. I whispered to her, "Are you insane?" Then, in a normal, calm voice, I said, "Ms. Vance, Daniel isn't here." She raised an eyebrow, a new light in her eyes. It was almost a look of deep affection. "I'm here to pick up my boyfriend. I'm here for you, Leo." Seeing the shocked expressions on everyone's faces, I forced a strained smile. "Sarah, we broke up." I never thought Sarah would announce our relationship this way, but I didn't need it anymore. I walked quickly out of the office. Sarah hurried after me. She grabbed my arm forcefully, pulling me around to face her. I shoved her away. I looked at her coldly. "Sarah." When I said her name, she stopped dead in her tracks. The coldness in his tone when he said her name was like a knife plunging straight into her chest. The furrow in Sarah's brow deepened. I looked at the woman in front of me and felt exhausted. Playing with my feelings while you're having some ambiguous thing with Daniel. Is that fun for you? I asked, controlling my emotions. Her brow was furrowed, her eyelashes trembling slightly. I continued. We broke up. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm leaving now, Ms. Vance. While she stood there frozen, I walked away without a second's hesitation. She followed me to the lobby of my new apartment building. Her face was frantic. "Leo, there's nothing going on between me and Daniel." The whole company was saying she and Daniel were getting back together. Saw her get into a fight for him with my own eyes. She pushed me out of a promotion to protect him. She didn't believe he stole my proposal. She looked at me, explaining quickly in a low voice, "You know I would never cheat the system for anyone. I wouldn't give him the promotion just because he's my ex. And I wouldn't give you special treatment just because you're my boyfriend." I curled my lip into a faint, sarcastic smile. "Sarah, the entire company is gossiping about you two getting back together. They're all saying you're chasing your ex. As your boyfriend, I had to listen to people talk about how perfect you two are for each other every single day. You have no idea how humiliating that feels. I was supposed to be your boyfriend. You would even get into a public fight for him. Let me tell you, I was never upset that you voted for him. If I lost fair and square, I'd accept it. But you were biased. You held an umbrella for him in the rain and took him home. You ordered afternoon tea for our whole department in your name and had him hand it out just to boost his ego. You didn't believe he stole my idea. As a girlfriend, you failed." Sarah's voice caught, her words trembling at the end. "Because that was his umbrella. And I didn't go out of my way to take him home. He just left a file he needed in my car. It wouldn't have been right to let him walk in the rain. And the afternoon tea, every department in the company got it that afternoon. I had no idea he was using my name to pass it out. That day at the bar, I would have done the same for any employee of the company. I promise it won't happen again." Her blurred boundaries allowed others to walk right in. Only with me were the lines crystal clear. In 2 years, no one had ever found out about us. The sky was getting dark, and a light rain began to fall. I quickly went inside and shut the gate. Through the bars, I said, one word at a time, "It's raining, Ms. Vance. You should go home." Mark sent me a message. "You and Sarah were actually dating? You guys kept that under wraps. I'm so sorry for what I said before. I had no idea you two were together." I couldn't blame anyone for misunderstanding. Even I thought Sarah was head over heels in love with Daniel. "It's okay. We broke up. It's in the past." The next day at work, no one was talking about Sarah and Daniel anymore. Daniel walked past me, his eyes bright. There was no malice, but I felt a sense of triumph from him. He was moving into the director's private office. The department was throwing him a promotion party. It was my last day, so I didn't go. At the end of the day, my contract was officially terminated. Mark said he didn't want to go either. I tried to convince him. "He's your boss now. You should probably make an appearance. I've resigned. Today's my last day." After I got home, Mark messaged me. "Sarah's here too. She's looking for you." My flight was that night. I didn't spend another moment in New York. The second I left the office, I headed straight for the airport. Next stop, Kenya, Africa. I was going to see the Great Migration. When I landed, my phone was flooded with missed calls and messages from Sarah. "Where are you, Leo? Don't ignore me. I'm looking into the proposal issue." I joined a tour group, rested for a day, and then headed to the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya. There, I witnessed the migration of millions of wildebeest. Riding in an open-top SUV, I saw lions. The lions weren't afraid of people, and they weren't aggressive. I stayed in Kenya for 2 months, watching the savanna grasses slowly change color. The day I left, I mailed some souvenirs and a few photos to Mark. There was often no signal there, so I was barely online. I only posted to my social feed right before heading to my next destination. After I landed, Mark messaged me. "Sarah saw your post. She went to Kenya." By then, however, I had already landed in Indonesia. When I left Indonesia, I sent Mark more photos and a letter and made another post. Sarah chased me to Indonesia too. By the time she arrived, I was already on a plane to Iceland. As the aurora rose, I stood on the vast land, gazing up at the sky. A crack opened in the dark night, and a green light shone through, shimmering and shifting slowly. It was a perfect moment. When I turned around, I felt that perfection shatter. Sarah was standing behind me, her eyes red. Moisture slowly welled up, her eyelashes trembling. Her shoulders were shaking slightly as tears streamed down her face. She whispered my name, her voice a little hoarse. There was a slight tremor in it. "Leo." I smiled, completely over it. "Sarah," she said, "it feels so strange when you call me that." I raised an eyebrow and asked, "Ms. Vance, then? But I've already resigned." I realized that when you've truly moved on, you don't care about the little things. I didn't feel like I hated her or disliked her. It was just an experience, nothing more. The corners of her eyes grew redder. We both spoke at the same time. "What are you doing here?" She said, "I miss you so much." After she said it, we both froze for a moment. She began again. "Daniel was fired. He was originally a transfer from a branch office. I didn't specifically recruit him. I didn't even know he was the one transferring until he arrived. He plagiarized your idea. The company investigation confirmed it. On behalf of the company and on my own behalf, I'd like to sincerely invite you back." I refused without hesitation. "No thanks, Sarah. I don't want to go back. Those memories weren't happy ones. I just wanted a fresh start." I looked up at the northern lights, After a moment of silence, she spoke again. "Leo, I'm sorry. Can you give me another chance?" I turned my head, my brow furrowed with annoyance. "You're really loud, you know." "That. I just wanted to watch the aurora in peace." Sarah heard the impatience in his voice. His words, "You're really loud, you know that," sent a shock through her, making her chest ache. Her eyelashes trembled. When she first saw his back, she could tell at a glance that he had lost weight. The joy of having him back, of finding what she'd lost, flooded her heart. After my trip, I took some time off, and then started at a new company, Sarah's rival, a competitor on equal footing. 3 years ago, I never would have taken this job. Because I loved her, and I didn't want to be on the opposite side. I just wanted to be by her side. But from her, I learned that I should be seeking better opportunities for myself, not choosing her. Becoming Sarah's competitor. Now that was interesting. But at first, Sarah didn't know I had started at the new company. She began pursuing me again. I turned her down every time. The last time, I said a lot. "Sarah, I think loving you was painful. It was a mistake from the very beginning. I never cared about whether I got the promotion or not. What I cared about was that you, my girlfriend, didn't have my back. You sided with him. When I told you I suspected he stole my proposal, your first reaction was that I was a sore loser. You have no idea how humiliating it was, as your boyfriend, to listen to our colleagues talk about you and him getting back together. We were never official, so I couldn't even tell people it wasn't true. I had no standing. I was in more pain then than you can possibly imagine. What you're feeling now is nothing." Sarah closed her eyes, tears leaking from the corners. When she opened them, her eyelashes trembled. "I'm sorry. I didn't make us public because I was scared. Scared you would also leave me for money. I was afraid you loved me for my money and power, not for me. But now I wish you did love me for those things. And I've realized that for you, I'd be willing to give up all of it." I just smiled and didn't say anything. 3 years later, I saw Sarah again. We stood face to face. I was representing my company in a negotiation with hers. I had become a better person, my career flourishing. Sarah stared at me, lost in thought. A slow smile spread across her lips. "Leo," someone asked. "That's great. Ms. Vance and Mr. Davis know each other?" I gave a faint smile. "I don't believe we've met." Sarah, who had been about to speak, closed her mouth. Looking at me, her eyes reddened. "When we meet again, we are only strangers."